What's happening, everybody? It's your man, Dame DNYDC, host of the Two Mics Up podcast. Back today with a brand new episode. I have a couple of amazing guests, in my opinion, that are really renowned in their field. And we're going to sit here and we're really going to talk about something that I find and I think is very important that we talk about in our community. And before we actually get to that topic, I'm going to step back for a minute. I'm going to allow our guests to take a few moments to introduce themselves to you and give you a little bit of information about their background. So, if you will, Miss Kimberly McLemore, will you please take a few minutes to introduce yourself to our listeners?
I certainly will. Can everybody hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Yes.
All right, awesome. And again, as he announced, my name is Kimberly McLemore, and I am the CEO and founder of the Women's Small Business Initiative, as well as I am the host of the podcast Your Resource for Success, right here on iHeartRadio and many other platforms. And what I do is I teach people how to utilize their voice in a manner of either writing a book or learning how to start their own podcast, teaching especially women a way to catapult themselves by realizing the importance of their voice. So that's what I do.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly. And
Awesome.
not to be left or without further ado, can Ian and Rose Burke, can you please take a moment to introduce yourselves to our listeners this evening?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Rose Burke, and I am the CEO of Burke Business Consulting Firm. My consulting firm, we build apps and websites really to grow your business, or websites that we create and build. It's not just your regular Joe Schmo website. We build it in with sales funnels to really generate your profit and making sure that you are successful in whatever business venture that you are embarking on. We also do business consulting. It's a full-scale business consulting firm, so we can help you out in any aspect of your business. And this is my husband, Ian.
Good evening, beautiful people, and thank you. This is my lovely wife, Rosemarie Burke. I've been in sales for the last 25 years. I'm the senior VP of sales for a BBC firm. That is the entity that Rose and I own together. I do have an individual entity in which I am a life coach, with my niche in the life coach space is in communication in relationships. So I deal mainly with couples, emotions, and healing relations. I don't believe in the D word, the ugly D word. And if you find yourself that close, but you want one more chance, please reach out to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to get in touch with you. We working on some other things. Might have to have you come back. We got some other things in the work, but that's good to know, Ian. I did not know that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So thank you for sharing. So today we're talking about, the big thing that we did a poll on last month. Why don't we support Black businesses? And in our poll, we found for us it centered really around four things. And we're going to go ahead and really get into those four things. And I'm going to allow at the end, so everybody stay tuned. I'm going to allow our panel to go ahead and share some of their views and thoughts and opinions on maybe how we can change the narrative. So please stay tuned. Make sure you stick around to the end. And one of the things that we found in this poll, and like I said, it was no particular order, but I'm just going to start with this one because I think this one is kind of important no matter where you live or where you come from when you're looking for a Black business. Sometimes they're just hard to find. And with that, like what can we do or what ways can we go about maybe improving where we can find that information or how that information can be shared. And I'm going to start with Ian and Rose on that question.
Google. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Let me preface what I'm going to say by saying this. Tulsa wasn't hard to find. As a matter of fact, it was one of the most popular places in the United States at the time.
Mm-hmm.
In its popularity, it was unpopular. It was unpopular for that Black community to be thriving in the way they did, with such sustenance, with such vigor and such force. And to answer the question, we have been taught not to look for it. It's not that it's hard to find. We've been taught not to look for it because nothing good will come of it anyway. And that initiative has been over marketed. And we've been indoctrinated into thinking that there's nothing good that's going to come from looking in that direction anyway. So let me not even look to begin with. So even if there were devices set in place, even if there were GPS routers to point to a Black-owned business, it's not cool, for lack of a better word, to even look in that direction.
That's very interesting. I never
go
thought
ahead.
of that way. No, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about what Ian said. I never really thought of it in that way. Like I said, with Google technology and everything else, maybe that's even made us lazier and even wanting to go look for those things.
Correct.
So I think that was a very good point. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Rose. What were you going to say?
No, not at all. I was just going to piggyback off what he said. It's really conditioning, right? Because when you look at commercials on TV of certain things, you don't see a lot of people of our color, right? So we're conditioned to think not only that someone else or that particular race is right, that's the only one that has that business, and they're the one that has the best product. Now, most people think, oh, it's the best product, but the best product is really the best known product, right? It's not necessarily the best product.
Correct.
It's just the best marketed, the best known. So I think that all goes back to really marketing and the way how we've been conditioned.
That's an interesting take. And I see you over there, Kimberly. I saw you shaking your head. And I saw you writing down some notes. What's your take? What is your take on that?
Well, to kind of piggyback on what everybody's been saying, it's absolutely been a conditioned scenario, but we also have to, I'm going to play here the kind of the devil's advocate, that we have to get beyond just being conditioned and beyond making the excuses of, well, we weren't trained, we weren't taught, we weren't this, we weren't that. It's at the point where today we have more options available, that we can research it, that we should be able to understand what's available by taking the time to learn versus expecting somebody else to show it to us. Right. And also, when it comes down to our communities, I'm originally from Davenport, Iowa, where it's predominantly an all-white community, but I'm here and I've been now in the Washington, D.C. area for more than 15 years. And the dynamic of differences, it's amazing even here how many Black-owned businesses that we have in the community, but you still don't see the support. You still don't always see that there are tons of Black community-owned businesses here, and people are not really supporting, they're not being advertised. And a part of that problem is not because we should be expecting somebody else to do it. We should be doing it ourselves as a community. Right. And I think that's where it's really an issue for me, is that there's not enough. It's the mindset that has to change. And until we change our mindsets, we're always going to continually be down this path of, well, we're conditioned. We're still haven't been taught, we this and we that. Yes, that is the honest truth, that was the circumstances and still is for a lot of people, but we have to definitely learn to change our mindset.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And some of the things that, you both were saying though, and I'm just curious though, like you said, Kim, being here in the DMV, being from New York, things seem like they've changed. We have gotten lazy, and I'm just trying to, how do we improve the communication? Because I think really for Black-owned businesses coming up, that's kind of how it was done, in the community. Like you kind of knew through word of mouth, right, how or where to go. Mm-hmm. How do we get back to that, or how do we use the technology per se? And I think maybe for Ian and Rose, this might be a little in your wheelhouse with programming and web development. Like, how do we as people of color hone in on that tool to make it more effective and make that communication or that connection with our community?
Yeah, I truly believe if the wheel isn't broke, right, don't try to fix it, right? So okay. The thing that we do, you should study bigger companies, right? You're striving to be the next Google or the next Apple. So you probably study the background, the Airbnb, study the background of how these companies became who they are. And at the bottom line, they had a stellar marketing plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can, just as Kimberly said, we need to absolutely take advantage of the technology. I can't tell you how many businesses I come across where either they don't have a website or they just have a standard website. They don't even have a sales funnel built in. So how is it that they're expecting to receive that promotion or that support when they're not even marketed in the way that they should be, right? So it's not only about consumers finding them and we're looking them up and Googling in this time and age. We as owners have to also change our mindset, right? To really be out there and be marketed a little bit better. People don't want to spend money on marketing, but I guarantee you, if you do, you will definitely see an ROI, a return on your investment.
Well, let me just speak to her last point about most people not wanting to spend money on marketing. If we want to take watch the Super Bowl, look at any one of those commercials, and then Google the cost, right? If these companies thought it'd be fit to spend millions on 30 seconds, but you can't spend a couple of $100 to get your name out there. Again, this goes back to what Rose said about not having the best brand, but being the best known. Everyone has a baby who looks out for Pampers. Why? Because Pampers did a stellar job at marketing their brand's name, which is Pampers. But the product is actually called diapers. But no one says, hey, can you find me some diapers? Or Band-Aid, right? Or Band-Aids. It's the same thing. It's not called Band-Aid. It's a bandage, but Band-Aid is the brand. But we've come to know it that well. Stanley, Steamer, you name it. You sing the jingle. That's because of repetition.
Marketing.
They put it out there so often. And we tend to get scared, even making a post. You know, we have a business idea, and we put the post out there, and then we say to ourselves, oh man, I think I posted too many times this week. That same thing over and over again. Well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to indoctrinate people. You're trying to get that message out there over and over again for them to see. If they're sick of it, they know it. That's the whole idea, right? But one of the things that we're doing here at BBC Firm is, especially with our website and our app clients, is we're teaching what the new dynamic is. And the new dynamic is going after that real estate space. What is that real estate space, you ask? Great question. The new real estate space is right here. What do I mean by that? Everyone is like this. The entire world. If you look at the back bush of Africa and a countryman happens to have a phone.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Like
it's true.
So how are you going to be found? People don't people aren't using maps and regular GPS. They're not looking at store to store and addresses anymore. It's all pin dropped. So if you're not here, then it's really difficult for you to be found. So your URL needs to be bookmarked.
Yeah.
Your app needs to be on the first or second page of everyone's device. And that's how we start to find ourselves in a place where we can be found. So now we're teaching people to vie for that space by over-marketing.
By over-marketing,
the business idea is correct. You can't undermarket, but you can undermarket, but you could never overmarket.
Right.
I was just going to ask, because Kim, I know that's, again, even in your field, you know, and with people that, you know, well, the women that you come in contact with, the business women, you know, is that something that you're high on as well? You know, and educating them on, and when they're dealing with their business on the day to day?
Absolutely. The biggest part is a big part of it we're talking is branding. And a lot of times people don't even know what their brand is, and they don't even know what products or services they want to provide. So if you're stuck there, how is anybody going to believe in what you have as a business, right? And so a big part of what I do is that once, you know, we figure out the small business, and I'm a huge advocate of doing business plans. A lot of what Ian and Rose have been talking about, you have to have a plan. You can't, you know, out here willy-nilling it is not going to be a successful business. You may be a success overnight, but will you last is the key. And then of course we have programs like these, you know, having a podcast show, writing a book, all these things that you can do to market yourself and to bring your product and services out as an expert is a way for people to know who is this Black owner. The one thing that I've learned being in business, I've seen many business owners who are minority owned, Black owned, they won't even put their faces out there until they have been able to build their product or services. They'll utilize other people within the organization and their community in order to build that business, because people will initially see Black before they see business. So when they can get past the color and realize that they have a reputation here and they have a great business that they can utilize because of the services, then they continue to grow. But obviously we want to get past that because we shouldn't have to go through that process, but it's a reality and it is still a reality and it's not going to go away overnight. But a big part I've seen when it comes to business is that people don't even know what they want to brand, don't even know what services they want to provide. So how can you market something you have no idea where you're going and who are you looking to be your supporters or be your consumers, right?
Right.
So, it's great that we have all the ideas, but it's getting those initial starts that I think they're the most important piece before you can even move forward to that, even to be supportive. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't care whether you're Black, white, green, or yellow. If I have no clue who you are, what you're doing, what you're providing, I'm not going to support you.
Right.
And that's the reality of business and branding. And even if you have the best Pampers in the world, doesn't mean I want to purchase them. But you're right. We do pay more attention to those items that stand out only because we know that they're great at what they're doing. I laugh every night when I see a new Geico commercial. I just love Geico. I hate the service of insurance. I just love the commercial, right? I mean, it's funny. I'm never going to change my insurance, but it's always something that stands out because they have marketed this so well at what they do to get you to listen. And even if it's only one person out of 1,000, they're still getting their services being, promoted, and somebody is actually going to purchase that insurance. Right?
Yes.
So it's the same process because what they've learned is that insurance is boring. So how can we get people to pay attention? Because we know you got to have it. It's a reality. We all know when we have to drive a car, whether we ever get an accident, you still got to have an insurance. But how do we make people constantly come to you? It's no different than what we have to do for our own businesses.
Well, that's awesome. Well,
just before we move on to something else, I just want to piggyback on a point that Kimberly was making about not knowing your brand's identity to begin with, or what it is that you want to market. So shameless plug, one of the things that we do here at BBC Firm is we offer free consultation. And even though our meat and potatoes are the websites and the apps, one of the things that we like to do is to consult people. We like to get people on the right track, on the right road. I mean, I'll tell you this, people have come to us saying that, hey, I want the world in this app. And it's like, I think you need a website. I think you need to refine that a little bit. So we actually give direction, but we don't just give direction to the people who are coming to us. We're actually looking for the people who have that idea. They've just been laying under their pillow, but have all those fears. And we want to just lift that pillow up and say, hey, we did it. And this is how you can do it too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I have to ask then, because that kind of led me to kind of put this one next, because now that we've talked about, the branding and the marketing and being able to communicate where to find the Black owned business, well, then we take a trip or we make a call. And when you do find the business, they're closed during the hours of operation. So, there's a lot of layers to this, because I want to go out and support. I find it, they have what I found something online and they have it there and I want to go. Like you say, I Google Maps my directions and I drive to the place, says they're open. What the hell, nobody's here. So I know for me as a consumer, I know how it makes me feel. But I want to start with you, Kim. Once you've gone through all of that, because I'm pretty sure we all laugh and we've all experienced it once or twice in our life. How does that make you feel? And really, really the other parts to that, like how do you address that? And what do you do? Whether it be with the owner or the store or whatever it may be.
Well, first I'm going to answer the first question of how it makes me feel disgusted. Okay. You get so tired of the attitude that people take that they don't value your being a consumer. But at the same time, you want us to respect your business. Right. So it goes twofold. And so I think a lot of times when we have individuals who don't truly understand the importance of business and don't value their consumers, then I'm not going to support you. And that's really kind of the end of it. But in order to get them to come around the corner on that, they have to be told, they have to be aware of, hey, why are you not open today? These are your hours. What's going on? Is there something that we can do to help you? Or is there something that, you can do differently so that we as consumers can come here and support you? But the big part of it is attitude and mindset. It's this thing of, I'm in business and, I can do whatever I want. Well, that's not necessarily true. You absolutely need to be open the hours that you say you're going to be open so that we can be a support to your business. But if you're not willing to do that, you're never going to be able to build the business the way that you really should be able to build it. So,
So Ian, Rose, I heard you both laughing as well. So I'm going to open the floor to each of you. Yeah, she like, nah. I can tell she ready to go left. She's ready to go left on that question.
Right.
You go ahead.
The thing I love about her is that the thing I love about our dynamic is that we're each other's thermometers. So it's kind of like, all right, turn down, turn up, turn up.
Yep.
The thing I love about this random questions is nostalgia, right? Like, where does it take you when you hear it for the first time? And I remember going to a place and sitting and waiting for it to be opened past its open hours.
Wow.
And of course, we're talking about a Black-owned business. And let's be real, right? It's usually a combo. You get a combination of 1, 2, 3 punch. It's not just a 1, 2 punch because one, let's be real, you're sitting there waiting. That's the first punch, right? The next punch, when they pull up, is the attitude. It's like, you, so what? And then the other punch is that you want to say something about it, but it's a reoccurring thing. It's not like a one-time thing where the guy's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I had an emergency. This will never happen again. It's kind of like, oh, so you got here before me. Okay.
Right.
Good for you. Glad you're first. All right. Yeah.
It doesn't make me sad. It's just it just makes me look down the hill. What I mean by that is because whenever we talk about a legacy and we talk about how we scribe our legacies through the time that we have, what we don't consider is our legacy of living, right? The things that other people see that's projected from our lives onto other people. And now we're talking about business. And I'm talking about, the young man or the young woman who came to that business and experienced that same thing. And maybe one of their dreams was to be an entrepreneur. Maybe they wanted to open a brick and mortar, what have you. But this is what we're seeing from our people. So is this the expectations? So now they don't have that heightened expectation. They may have a fire, right? But it's not a blaze as it ought to be because that guy's not pulling on his full potential. The people who are watching can't pull on their full potential. And that makes me feel sad when I think about it. And even trying to have that conversation with the guy, it's like, it was the same thing last week and the week before.
So, just in that point though, because that was one of really like my subtopics, because I've experienced something like that. And so, like, how did you really go about addressing it with, let's say, the owner? Because I know a lot of times, and this is one of the things, honestly, that frustrates me with our people. So I understand Black-owned business and you have that repetition, but a lot of times we're quick to go to Yelp and all of that and just bash the business, which you have every right to. But I think if we are to get better as a community, I'd like to have a conversation with that owner. Like, hey, I and explain to him, look, I did all of this to come out of, take my time, come out my way to come support you. I think you should do better, or you can do better, because this is not the first time. And they usually know that. I mean, after a while, you kind of become, you kind of become, I don't want to say a sore thumb, but like, we've had this conversation before. So like, how do you feel we should handle it? Like, should that be the best way to handle it, Kim? And I'll start with you, Kim, in your opinion.
I think it's fine to do that, but if you find that the person's just never going to be receptive because they continue to do that, they're not going to really hear what you're going to say. And kind of like what Ian was just saying a few minutes ago, that is this attitude of, oh, well, it's great that you made it. I'm glad you're here, but it's already showing you how can you really have a good conversation with the person who's already built that retention of, well, whatever, so of course you're going to eventually start to have that same tone because they're not respecting anything that you're going to say. So you have to really it's kind of like that situation of, am I going to flight or flight? What is it really worth to you as an individual? And yes, you do want to be supportive as much as you can, but you're showing your support by showing up. And if that person is not willing to adhere to coming in on time, what else is there to say? How often do you have to constantly reinvent the wheel and repeat yourself because you have an individual who does not have enough consideration for himself or for his business or for his community or for his consumers? So it's going to get to the point where, you're really, what's the phrase that they use? You're constantly preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
And you're getting no result.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, just to piggyback, I completely agree with Kimberly. Just to piggyback off that too, that one of the things that I tend to do, because I am a business owner myself, I always voice my opinion. Regardless whether you're black, blue, red, or green, I will always voice my opinion.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, Ian. I know.
It's really constructive criticism because initially I approach you in love,
Yeah.
So for black-owned businesses, I will look at them and like, hey sis, hey bro, you were supposed to be open at 9, and I've been here since 9, and it's now 11. And I know you saw me wait at 11, but my time is money and your time is money. You could have made, and I really make it a session to really force to educate them. And I'm sure they're annoyed at me because I'm annoyed that I have to have this conversation with you. Right. So I understand. So I guess we're going to be both annoyed people, but I'm going to speak to you with respect.
But I do. Can I say just one thing on that? I'm sorry when you're done here.
Go right ahead.
Now, I think the one thing that we do have to get out of the mindset of is constantly coddling our people. It's business. You're either going to be in business or you're not going to be in business. And if you just don't have the wherewithal to be a business owner, then you might need to rethink what it is that you're doing because, it doesn't just affect the people that are standing there waiting to get through the door. It affects everything they do in business. That means bills aren't going to get paid. You're not going to bring in the income that you need to bring in order to support your business. So, we've got to get past this thing of saying our people have to constantly be coddled because they don't understand. No, you absolutely understand when you're carrying that type of attitude that you don't want to open up on time every day.
Right.
I mean, that becomes an attitude. That's no longer just saying, I just don't get it. I need help. And so I think we really need to make people be more receptive of what we're saying and what we're hearing and to them. But at the same time, they need to be educated on, hey, you're either going to be in business or not. And if you don't want my support, then we need to move on because there are other Black business owners who do are respectful and of the consumer and want our support. So you got to get deciding, do you want to continue to coddle them and hold them? We can continue to make them accountable. But my thing is, accountability is green. You want the business that we support, and the color of that is green. It's at the end of the day, it's making the money that we need to make in order to be a continued business, and we need to have those consumers in order to make that business successful.
I completely agree with you. Initially though, if I go into a business and they are, late or, they're not open during their hours, I absolutely let them know. Because I think that's just the consultant nature in me, letting them know how much they're damaging their business by their operation. And I go through a whole spiel, and I'm sure they don't want to hear it. That is my nature. I have to tell you that you are messing up. And you're just not messing up for you, because you have to think about, as Ian said, that little boy that's watching you, that little girl that's looking at you and saying, wow, I want to be like that someday. You have so much. I love that movie, 7 Degrees of Separation, because we are so connected and people just don't realize it. Right. So for me, I always let them know. And even to the point where I am not going to support them anymore, I let them know I am not going to support you anymore because of these situations.
Oh, look, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just going to, Ian, you can blink if you need help. because I can tell, I can tell you've been down this road, and I only say that lovingly because my wife is the same way. And then what makes it, but I'm saying, blink if you need help. I know because I've been there. And all I'm saying though, because then I know what your wife will do after she goes to hers, babe, right? And then right. So that means it's your turn to get it. So I get it. It's okay, bro. This blink, pineapple is the safe word, like whatever. It's all good.
You know what I'm saying, girl,
You know what, though?
Right. No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And Rose's point, what we're talking about, back to what I said in the beginning about speaking to the emotion of business. Right now, there's two ways to handle this. You can be passive, or you can be aggressive. But I would opt for a third way, which is a passive aggressive way with love and education. Like, if you're going to say something and you want it to be constructive, you've got to remove your anger, right? Because then you're going to be just barking at a wall. You're not going to get any reaction. But if you want to talk about something that I really want to help you, right? I really want to tell you not just how I feel, but how this impacts you. Let me give you some education. Maybe I could say something about your neighbor's bottom line, or how other people in these units are doing as far as making their bills on time. Whatever it is that I can come up with constructively in that moment to show you how you're hurting your business and the community, like Kim said, and the same for Rose's point, is to make sure that when we are addressing these people, if we do in fact say I'm going to address the business owner, that we're doing it in a way that provides them value and not your emotion.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because all of that really ties into the next thing that we found in our poll, so now you've done all of this and you've gone through the conversation, but even sometimes before you get to the owner per se, the staff, the mood of the establishment, for better words, it's just that total lack of professionalism that we find today that's exhibited, like it's your fault and everything that you said. But I mean, like, how do you even maneuver through all of that? Like, because I know for me, living in the DMV, it's not New York. I've been down here for a minute, but I know my first instinct is to cuss everybody out. And I'm sorry, that's just my first instinct.
Well,
and I'm trying to become a better person and a better human being. And some days I find it difficult. So, like when you're met with that type of, the sucking of the teeth and, dropping let's say your food or your order, or, I hate, and this is my pet peeve. I've gone to stores and I've had young men and women take my money. I put my money in your hand, and they take my change and they throw it back at me. And I've snapped. So I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to woosah, but I'd be interested in, like, how do you deal or handle situations like that? And Kim, I'll let you open up with that question.
Well, on the latter, I probably would have did what you did at some point. You do get frustrated. So, but at the same token, one thing I have learned is that I let them know that I do not have to be here and I can take my business elsewhere. If that's the type of customer service that I'm going to receive. And I think the biggest problem is that a lot of the business don't remind their staff and their employees that the consumer is the most important person, because without us, you will not succeed in that restaurant, in that wherever you're at, store, whatever the case may be. And so I think the biggest thing is the mindset of, don't bring your problems here to the job. You are here to support this business here. You work for this company, so you're a replica of who we are. And so when I see that people are starting to go down that path and they get that arrogant attitude and, like I said, or, don't want to serve you properly, or don't want to bag your groceries, or just have that attitude, period, I have a tendency, and I have done it, I will walk out. I won't pay for anything. I won't do anything. I'm like, nope. This is how I'm going to be treated. I refuse to have to deal with that. And I also will talk to the manager or the owner to let them know that they have got to do better with their staff.
And then the Better Business Bureau, we go.
Oh, I've done that. Oh, yeah. And then we'll write the Yelps and all that too.
Okay.
Because it's important. And what Rose said, it is important, because one thing I have learned with Better Business Bureau, and I've had this experience myself where I hired an individual. They did not do their job. We had a full contract. I had to sue the individual. I made sure Better Business Bureau was my best friend. You know, you have to learn to make people understand that business is business, and you will respect the contracts, you will respect that business, and you will honor that contract. And if you don't, there is a consequence for everything that you do, good or bad.
Absolutely on that one.
Absolutely.
Rose, Ian?
Well,
Pineapple.
Right.
well,
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for jumping in there, because I see it already.
let me tell you how my mind works. Sometimes I just have to sift through the treasure trove of things that goes through. But the first thing that came to mind when you posed that question was, if I'd gone to a church and the ushers were cursing, would I want to meet the pastor? Yeah, I would want to meet the pastor to let him know that his ushers are cursing. But if he's cursing too and it's top down, then I'm not sitting in the pews. I'm walking out, like Kimberly said. You know, so let's expand this a little bit, because I know we're focused on Black-owned businesses, but having been in sales and customer service for the last 25 years, I was for the last 10 years up until 2020, I was the business consultant for Ray-Ban. So I delved in customer service and sales daily, right? It's what we did daily. So I started to pride myself on it, because when I actually started that company, I started in the customer service department, and then I was promoted to actually teach customer service, not to run the customer service department, but to teach customer service to, let's say, the folks who needed to learn it. Right? Because we hire people. And sometimes we just hire people out of necessity, and we don't really vet them. We don't have a motto. We don't have a mantra that we march to. We don't have a status quo set for our businesses, or whatever the case may be. What we do is we have a bottom line, and we have somebody at the cash register. But what we don't consider is that everyone is a salesperson that is marching under the banner of whatever your brand is. And they're also a part of the identity of your company. And we've gone places and been severely hungry. I mean, roaring like a lion, and sat there for far too long for someone to just walk over and go, "Oh, what you need?" Right. As a matter of fact, nothing from you. Have a great, and we'll get up and make an exit. Because here's the thing, and it was something that Kimberly said, and I don't remember verbatim, but I remember the spirit of it. And I'm trading my money for value. So there's no way I'm going to turn over my cash for no value. I don't care how convenient it is. I need value. That's the most important thing. So when I find out someone is not providing value, it makes me less inclined to even want to have the conversation. I actually want to spend my money somewhere giving value. Now, you can tell the difference between a hiccup and a character flaw in business. Right? Some people make mistakes, and that's okay. And then, we roll with the punches and we work it out. But you can tell a character flaw where this is the normity from the boss
all
to
the
the
way down.
Why fight that battle? I could just spend my dollars somewhere else.
You bring that's a very valid point. And I guess, all of that really tied in, and looking through these questions and the feedback that we got, kind of ties into really the last thing, which could have been really one of the first things, but I save it for last because I think this, a lot of times in our community, it's kind of like the biggest gripe that you always hear. And, we're talking about cost. Man, why your stuff cost so much? Wow, man, give me a break. Hook me up. Hook me up, man. Oh, I like that shirt. Let me get a hook. I don't hear nobody asking Jeff Bezos for no hookup. Or you understand what I'm saying? So, why? I mean, for me, being a business owner, I understand why some of my prices on some things may be a little higher than others. And not to say it's justified or not, but in my opinion, either you're going to buy it or not. And that's really the second question. But do you feel, and I'll start with you, Ian and Rose, do you feel, for Black businesses, not only to stay in business, how do you feel about those slightly higher? I'm not saying 100%, but I can understand, 20, 25, maybe, I'm dancing. But, how do you feel about those slightly higher prices for Black businesses?
Well, to answer that question, I feel as though when you look at, I think price should be comparative to value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the business is bringing me a certain value, I don't mind paying that price. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have a certain stigma as just people as a whole that I don't think it's only Black people. I think everyone wants a deal, right?
Right.
I
Right.
have a number of different friends from different races that they also will talk down the price and
Right.
they will also look for a deal. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing that I tell my clients and people who I do consulting with for their businesses, I tell them never lower their price.
Right.
Just increase your value.
Right.
That's the only thing you need to increase,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Agreed.
for me, when someone says, I need a website and I know what I'm bringing, I'm not bringing you a regular website. I'm bringing you a website with a sales funnel built in. I'm guaranteeing SEO so your website is coming up on the top of Google searches. I'm
Mm-hmm.
making sure that your sales number, you're profitable. So for me, I'm not going to lower my price because I know the value that I bring to you. So that's what I tell all my clients when they say, oh, do you think my price is too high? I say, let's not discuss your price. Let's look at the value that you're bringing your customer.
Right.
Now, if your value doesn't match your price, I tell you to increase your value
Mm-hmm.
so that it can be comparative to your price. That you're not, the only, I feel like, and this is just maybe my opinion, but I feel like the only time people compare or complain about prices is when they don't see the value that they're
Mm.
getting. So if that means, that doesn't mean that my companies are valuable. That means that there's another way that I have to show you
Right.
how much value I'm bringing to you.
Right. Because we tend to do business in a standard way.
Yeah.
This is what I'm selling. This is what this costs, right? And we tend not to educate our customers, and that
Mm-hmm.
education should be endowed with features and benefits, right? So
Right.
now I feel like, and this is one of the things that we found that was successful in some former business ventures we were in.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw how our peers did it and how they made their money. And they made a lot of money. Was it coded with integrity? I don't think so. However, the way that we found to get a lot of recurring customers and just to build good relationships and good network was to not just take your docs
Mm-hmm.
from you and then provide you with a finished product. It's to invite you in and say, hey, I'm not gonna fry this fish up for you. I'm gonna show you how to fish for yourself. So we
Right.
teach people in that way, and they feel more secure. And now when they look at the dollar amount, I know exactly why I'm paying what I'm paying, because I'm getting this, I'm getting that, I'm getting this, and they're really nice people, and they invited me to their barbecue or something like whatever. Right?
And Kimberly,
Right.
I'm sure that's up your aisle, right? Because from your intro, you educate people, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how, you add value to them by educating them, by them feeling like they're not just paying for a service and that's all they're getting. Not only that, they're learning more, they're growing more.
Right.
They can not only increase themselves but their business.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Exactly.
think just increasing the value itself, it's not really about the price.
And then you got to ask the question within that question is overpriced when compared to what? What are we talking about? Are we talking about a good service?
Right.
And now with that good service, to whom are you comparing my business? Because if I'm providing something that Walmart has more buying power.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, because they have more buying power, they can offer you a lower price. However, one of the things that I did in corporate was to have this thing called a fireside chat. And with that fireside chat, we spoke to the president and different people in leadership, and they took leadership from different departments, myself included, and asked us, what do you think the issue is? Why are we so disconnected in so many different departments within the company? And my answer was lack of intimacy. And the reason is because we're too big. How many people go to a huge church and never knew that their neighbor went to the same church, as opposed to a small church where everyone knows each other? So what we did was we broke up into subgroups and intermingled the departments, so everyone knew what it is that each one did. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost, that intimacy.
Agreed.
Right? So when your client knows you and they know the value you bring, you never have to worry about your price.
Agreed on that. And Kimberly, I want to allow you to take a few minutes to also touch in on that, because I see you smiling. You know, so
Well, I definitely agree with everything that Ian and Rose are saying, because at the end of the day, it is about value, but also the attitude for me is that you get what you pay for. So for me, a big part of what I do is consulting with people about writing books. So you can go out and just write, but what else do you do beyond writing? So it's always getting, like I said, that education that you need to have in order to be a successful author. So I'm an award-winning author. Do you want to be an award-winning author, or do you just want to be an author? So, it's all those types of things that we're talking about. It is about value. And when I have somebody say to me that, I can learn this for free, I said, yeah, you're right. You can Google everything you want, but can you actually put the content together? Do you really understand what you're actually getting yourself into? Do you understand the law? So there's all these things that we're talking about. It's not just about the product. It's always about the services that you're providing. And I think so when people feel that they cannot initially, or financially support that, I will definitely find ways, or I want to look around and say, what is the best thing? What is the most important thing that stands out for you that you need to do right now? And I think that's the other conversation that needs to be had, because we all know when we come into business, everybody wants to jump in on all fours because they think that they have all the answers and they can do everything. And the reality is, it's really truly understanding what is it that you can afford to do and why you want to do what you're doing, so that you can, we can support you, and that financially it is good for you. But at the same token, it is a situation of, you do have to, you get what you pay for. And if you're not willing to pay for that, then you do have the right and the option to go and search something else. But, as business owners, and not just about being Black business owners, but as business owners, we have to support our businesses. We may have staff that we have to pay for. We have other things we do. It's not just about what comes in our pockets. It's about truly ensuring that the business is successful, so we can continue to provide the services that we do have for our businesses.
Yeah.
You spoke that one. She spoke that one. That's a great way to go into the next question. Or really, I want to allow, each of you, our guests, to really share, something on this conversation, from your view, your experience, whatever it is, or something maybe you want to educate our listeners and those who are tuning in on what they can do, to help change that narrative of why don't we support Black businesses. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start with Ian and Rose.
Well, for me, I think that we really need to change our mindset, right? About number one, as we discussed before, we have to think about what support means to you, what support means to me, right? Moving on from there, we also have to, as a people, know how to run a business. As Kimberly said earlier, it's not everyone that says, okay, I want to run a business, is really conditioned to do it. It's not, everyone cannot be an entrepreneur. And I know it sounds really great on Instagram, like, oh, I'm running my business, but you have to be built different to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong. I know a lot of people speak against the 9-to-5, but I tell my clients all the time, there is nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5. If that's what sustains you, supports you, you're happy with doing that, then do that. Don't let anyone convince you to be an entrepreneur. As far as supporting Black businesses, as Kimberly says, no, we're not going to coddle. We're not going to coddle anyone. However, I think when we do correct them, we do need to correct them in love. I would correct anyone in love the first time. The second time, I'm going all the way up. All right. Yes, I give you a chance. That's okay, baby. Let's make it better. And then the next time it doesn't happen, then you have to also, because as consumers, also we have to be wise.
Yeah.
Right. We cannot just, okay, they're a minority business, let me continue to support them. We have to be wise, but we have to let them know, or we should let them know, why you're no longer getting my support.
Right.
And I do feel like as a community, we are very strong. And if there is enough room at the table for all of us to eat, for all of us to be great. And just with the support if we get support from the ones who actually know how to do business, like I don't know Kimberly, but I would love to have someone like that on my team, someone like that I can bounce ideas from. You know, someone like, hey Kim, this happened today. What do you think? Right. And she can do the same for me. I do that all day, every day with my husband. Sometimes he gets annoyed, but we won't.
But I got you. And I think though, what you just said, Rosemarie, Rose, is important because even though on our platform, Two Mics Up is all about educating, empowering, and impacting our community. And one of the things that we don't do, and I tell a lot of people, we have to learn how to barter. Barter a lot of times is your first step to sales. And just in what you say, I've had the pleasure over the last year and a half. I've met so many talented individuals. But the biggest thing is now, once you know what the other person does as a business and you have an understanding, now you have a free salesperson that can go out and talk freely about your business and what you do. Oh, we all have networks. And somebody say, oh, hey, I'm looking for somebody that does software development, or I'm trying to find somebody that maybe is an author. Oh, okay, well, you know what? I got a network for you. I got 2 people that I just had the pleasure of sitting down and talking with. Now I know what you do. And the barter part that I tell people though, but you have to take ownership in bartering. I'll reach out to Kim or I'll reach out to Ian and Rose, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna send you someone. But now it's between you and I, because now I'm giving you business. And if that person comes back to me, hey, well, Kimberly didn't do this or that, well, I'm gonna go, hey Kim, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Because by doing that though, now we're building an understanding and a network that is built on trust and understanding. And in return though, by me holding you accountable, it should pay off for me down the road. And I'm just sharing that with people because it's worked in this last year and a half. We've grown so much just by doing that. And I think a lot of us have to understand the first steps of sales, and I call that bartering. But I'm going to be quiet. And Kim, I'm going to ask you, please share, your thoughts and your views or opinions.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we have to understand too as consumers when it comes to our business that, first of all, you got to get to change the mindset, which, we've been talking a lot about this evening. But that mindset is that you have to realize that it's not about us owing you something. And I think that's the biggest thing that I found when we have people come into our businesses as Black owners. It's this attitude that we owe you something because we're Black. We do not owe you anything because we're Black. We are business people. We are here in our communities providing services and products that you may need and that everybody may need. But you have to learn to value who we are. You have to learn to respect that what our business is here for is to support our community. That's the reason why we're open. It's not always just based on the fact that you're Black. Now, yes, there are some products and services that are based specifically for Black people. But the key is I think that when that mindset changes and that attitude changes and you realize that we are like any other business, then you will have no problem with coming in and paying the cost for whatever it is that you're purchasing, whether it's a product or whether it's a service. And then, you'll continue to come back to us as long as you value and you believe that we are providing you what you're asking for. And I think that's what all of these people in our community need to get to, that mindset, is that stop asking and thinking that we owe you something. And it's not that we don't appreciate the support, but we have businesses that cannot survive off of, well, can you bargain with me every 5 minutes? We can't do that. You can't be in business and constantly bargain. So I think that's the most important thing to understand when it comes to being in business and getting the support. But, in return, I agree with what you were just saying in reference to the fact that, in order for us to help each other as businesses, we definitely want to be able to communicate with each other and bring each other businesses, because that is a part of bartering and that helps us grow. And it is our responsibility to ensure that we do what we say we're going to do. That's really what I think is all that needs to be said. And I just think that the key is that just respect us. Just realize at the end of the day, the color green is what I see. I can't look at the color, because, everybody that walks through my doors or anybody I talk to, when you want to write a book or you want to start a podcast show, what does it got to do with your color? And if we
Right.
stop and if we learn to quit labeling each other, we would not have half
Yeah.
the problems that we have in our communities.
Facts on that one. Well,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, this has been an amazing episode. And before we close out, I want to allow our guests to go ahead and leave any information that they like, where they can be reached, where they can be found, anything that you're working on that's coming up. And I'm going to start with Kim. Kim, could you go ahead and just let us know what you got on your slate and where our listeners and watchers can find you?
Well, sure. You can reach me anytime at KimberlyWSBILC@gmail.com. You can look at my website at www.wsbilc.com. But most people always reach out to me and they find me consistently on my podcast show, which is Your Resource for Success podcast, which is every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, like I said, right on iHeartRadio or wherever you listen to your podcast. That's the easiest way to find me if you're truly interested in wanting to know how you can become a success and you want to find ways to catapult your voice as a woman or as a man or in any business you want to do, and you're looking to write a book, and like I said, I want to start a podcast, please reach out to me, because my goal is to ensure that you have that opportunity to realize how important that your voice is.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much, Kim.
Love it.
And
Love it.
Ian,
Kim,
Rose.
I was just looking it up as you were saying it. I want to keep you in my network, girl.
Thank you. We definitely need to talk. I definitely need to talk. I love your website, the ideas about the sales portion of it. I've never heard anybody talk about how a website is supposed to be developed in that way. So that is phenomenal, and definitely need to talk more.
Yes, definitely. I was taking all notes. Like, okay.
Well, Ian, Rose, please share your information for our audience and those who are watching, where they can find you and what you are both working on and what you have coming up next.
Okay, so actually, what you're asking me to do was going to be my follow up to what we were just talking about. It is
Okay.
perfectly in sync. Okay, so one of the ways that we are expanding network is by hosting networking events. We do have an event space. It's called BB Oasis at the Zen Garden, and on June 5th, we're going to be having a networking event titled Networking and Chill. So we're basically going to have a whole bunch of different entrepreneurs. It's also open to the public to come, bring all promotional items, and what we're going to do is have a super huge fireside chat. We're going to sit around, eat, drink, lounge around, but we are encouraging entrepreneurs to come with their business in their mouth. That should probably be the highlight of their night, the only thing they want to talk about that night, as it is a networking event that'll be open to everyone.
Okay, awesome.
The thing that I want people to take advantage of with BBC Firm is the fact that we are offering a lot of value on the free end in the very beginning. Free website analysis, free consultation. We are big believers that if you build it, they will come. We're big believers in helping other people. We're big believers in our motto, building better businesses. Because your business is our business.
Okay.
And what we want to do is have everyone close their eyes, relive their dream, and have us sitting right there next to you, so we can help you manifest that in the physical.
Awesome.
Right? And that's our driver, that's our goal. And with that, we bring tons and tons of education. We don't keep it to ourselves. So when you walk away, you felt as if this is something you did yourself with just a little bit of our assistance. You can find me at Ian W. Burke on Instagram, also Ian W. Burke on Facebook, and same for my wife, Rose. You can find us at BBC Firm on Instagram and on Facebook as well. This has been an absolute pleasure. I also want you, ladies and gentlemen, to check out my Instagram. And if you have any questions regarding relationships and communication, I'm your guy. I'm your guy. I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much. I'm qualified by the fact that I was blessed with discerning spirit, and I don't tell people what to do. What I do is I offer perspectives and have people choose the right decision that's good for them.
All right now. Well,
And
ladies and
only
gentlemen.
I want to just
Yeah.
add that not only is he qualified, like he said, but he's also certified. He's a
Oh,
certified
okay.
life coach.
Okay.
So that's important,
No,
right?
that's real important. That's real important.
Very.
Very.
See, that balance, you know.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here. We've been blessed to have another amazing episode. I hope you enjoy. We have, and before we close out, I just want to take a minute to thank our sponsors who have support Two Mics Up, Next Level Keys, Riddick Entertainment, TD3 Insurance Agency, Regina Leggett, our Legal Shield Independent Associate, and our
Right.
newest sponsor, DJ Coco Brown. Stay tuned. We'll have more information from them and about them in our future episodes. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule
Thank you.
and
Appreciate
watching.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Listeners, as always, you can follow Two Mics Up online at www.twomicsup.com, and you can follow us across our social media platform, IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Two Mics Up. If you're watching, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification. Check us
Yes.
out next Thursday with a brand new live. You don't want to miss it. The last couple have been Pray for Dame. I've been in trouble for the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna stay in trouble. Hashtag pray for Dame. Keep praying for me because Lord knows I need it. Thank you all again. Y'all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
It was a pleasure, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.